Are reference photos cheating? I get this a lot, and I want to talk about it today. So, if you're the type of person who thinks that you aren't a real artist because you have to use reference photos, this video is for you. My cat won't leave me alone, so I had to pick it up because it kept walking on my keyboard and stuff. So one of the things that's difficult about being an artist is living your life and being an artist. Recently we went on vacation, had a family reunion, and here's some footage from that. But one of the things that I noticed was that I'm in the middle of this children's book, and this children's book takes place in a wooded glen next to a lake, surrounded by cliff faces and mountains. And I didn't plan this because I didn't plan this trip, but where we ended up going was exactly what I had imagined. There's going to be a little bit more of an oriental feel with the bonsai trees and everything, but we went to a lake surrounded by like rocks and forested hillside and cliff faces. And it was exactly what I needed. And so I didn't need to look on the internet. I could just take my own reference photos. And that's what I did. So the age-old question is, are you a hack if you're using photo reference? Are you a terrible artist if you can't draw everything that you've ever seen one time from memory exactly as it is? I don't know why this is a persistent thing, but when I first started learning to draw, I struggled with it. I beat myself up mentally because I wasn't able to draw the human figure without looking at something first. Or I couldn't remember exactly what a car looked like. Or I had to buy little models of a motorcycle to look at like what a motorcycle looked like from different angles. And is this cheating? Is what you're seeing on the screen here, is that cheating? Does that mean that I'm a lesser artist? Does that mean that I can't really do it, that I'm kind of a hack, that I'm like shortcutting it, that I'm not a true artist? There's this idea that you're not a good artist if you have to use reference. Now, I think there are good ways to use reference, and I think there are bad ways to use reference. Personally, I don't like the idea of tracing over the top of reference. I don't dig that concept, right? I still think that you should have some eye, brain, hand coordination and interpretation of what it is that you are observing and interpreting. Otherwise, you should just, make a photo montage and put pictures at the bottom of it. Like, there's the interpretation of the illustration that I think is important. So in this case, what you're seeing here is you are seeing that I have taken two photos from a lower angle of my hand, and then I drew those into this picture, right? And I want to show you how I do that. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing me in front of my camera, embarrassingly. I'm just recording a movie because I don't need it to be high resolution. I'm not going to trace over it. It's not going to become something that I print. And I'm basically just trying to compose the shot with my body and make my hands into an interesting thing. And then once I get it to an interesting spot, like right here, then I will come back and I will freeze frame that, and that's what I end up drawing. And so that's what you're seeing on the screen right now, is you are seeing the drawing itself that I made based on how I was holding my hands, my head, my face, and even my tongue. So long story short, no, you are not a hack. You're not cheating. You're not a horrible person. You are not a fraud if you use photo reference. The best artists that are living today draw from life, use photo reference, or have studied a particular thing long enough to where they no longer need to. But the way that they got there was drawing from real life and drawing from photo reference. And so if you don't know what something looks like, there's nothing wrong with you. You just don't know what something looks like. The cat has come to bug me again. So I want to get this point across really solidly because it's something that I was torturing myself with a couple years ago when I would draw stuff and it wouldn't look good. It wouldn't look good because I wasn't looking at anything. I was just drawing now. Now you have, and I've heard some people recently talk about this online, but I've been using this in lectures and in class for a long time. I learned it decades ago, and so it's not a new concept or anything, but your brain has a symbol system. Your brain symbol system is an efficient and effective way, an efficient and effective way to deal with a ton of information, right? You don't have time to be able to look at a stop sign and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's red, white border, 4 letters, STOP. By that point in time, you have killed someone by running that stop sign. You need to be able to see that, immediately register what you do, and instead of going, all right, you count everything, you look at it, and then you go, I need to lift my foot up 4 inches and move it 3 inches to the left, and then depress with this amount of pressure. I'm going to go with 40 psi at this point. Instead of processing information like that, your brain takes shortcuts. It takes symbols, and it says that means stop, and your foot already automatically goes, right? You don't calculate the amount of distance between when you start pressing the brake and where that stop sign is. You've grooved that into your brain, right? And so your brain is the symbol system, and it's important, and it lets us survive. But it's not what things look like. So your brain enjoys symbols more than it enjoys actual reality. Now, when I look at a person, the symbol of a person is a lot like what it looks like on a bathroom door. They have a head, there's 4 limbs, there's a big torso, right? But that's not what people look like. They wrinkle and stretch and move and fold and bulge and tuck. And it depends on what their body is doing, and the skeletal structure that is rigid, and the muscular structure, fat structure, and skin structure that are on top of that rigidity that fold and move and float and bend. All of those things come into play, and there's no way that you can learn how to draw those without looking at them. And so this big movement and this big shaming thing that is happening, where people are like, oh, you used reference, you suck. Like, that is a bunch of garbage. That is literally the stupidest thing. Now, if you are taking that to the extreme and you're going to the point where you're not actually learning to draw anything, then it's not helping you, it's hindering you. And so there's this balance. And I actually have a video on how to use photo reference. And here's some things, here's a quick recap of that, but I think you should go watch that video if you're struggling with this. You do not trace other people's photos. You don't trace other people's illustrations. Don't use other people's illustrations as photo reference. Photo reference is photo. The cream of the crop is drawing from life. The next best thing is shooting your own reference. But like, for example, I can't go photograph a pagoda, but I need one. And so I've got to look on the internet. And when I look on the internet, instead of going off of one image, I go off of a bunch of different images. If you saw last week's video, you'd see me draw sparrows from a number of different images until I got a good feel for how that bird works and functions and articulates. And I still look at, what does a foot look like in there? Kind of Frankenstein cobble things together, right? And so it's important to understand that, one, looking at things is important, and it is no way a cheat, a hack, or a shortcut. And two, it's actually exceptionally difficult to bypass your natural inclination to draw the symbol that's in your brain and instead draw what you see. Observational drawing. Beyond observational drawing, which I'm not there yet, is construction drawing, where you understand something so well that you can construct it from your training that you've given yourself. And a lot of comic book illustrators are at this point, how they've drawn the human figure to the point where so many times with so much reference and so much life drawing and panel after panel after panel after panel, that they are able to just do it from whole cloth. Just do it without any reference. Not all of the pros do that, but some of them do. And many of them, you'll notice that a lot of their faces are very similar, and that they either have a front profile or 3/4. There's never a 5/8, or they've got about 5 different angles that they can draw the face from, and that's it. And so they've learned the things that they've needed to learn from doing that. But there's still, I have a mirror right behind my computer screen because I will make faces and try to emote in a way that my character is expressing themselves. And in that way, I can see it, right? I can feel what my face is doing, but that doesn't give me the idea of what it looks like. So I need to look in the mirror and pull a Jim Carrey and just kind of like, oh, what if I'm really angry? Oh, these bulgy things come out of my neck. And you have to like look at it and do that type of thing. So anyway, all of that is to say, photo reference is okay if you do it right and you're not infringing on copyright. And personally speaking, I think tracing over the top of stuff is not a great idea. But I know a lot of artists that do that, and it's okay. And I'm not here to condone or condemn anyone's practice, but mainly I just want to travel back in time several years to when I felt like I was horrible and didn't look at photo reference when I should have because I didn't know what I was drawing. I don't know what a horse looks like. Like, I recognize a horse, right? It's an animal that looks kind of like a hornless unicorn. Symbolically, I get that in my mind, and when I see one, I go, that is a horse and not a donkey. But drawing the difference between a horse and a donkey or a cow or something like that, besides the symbolic things like horns and udders and things like that, like musculature and skeletal structures are different in those animals, but they're four legs, they're all on the ground, they stand, they're roughly the same, but there are minor differences that I would have to look at and see with my eyes and analyze and study and break down and draw multiple times before I can really figure out how that works. And so, long story short, photo reference, A-okay. Don't cheat though by tracing or ripping off somebody's illustration or something like that. If you see an awesome pose in a comic and you want to draw that pose, awesome. Close the comic book, put it aside, pose for that yourself, and then, draw it from a photo. And if you want more information on why that is, go watch that other video that I did on staying upstream, link in the card or at the end of this video or something. So let me give you an update on where I am in my children's book, because I had a vacation for a week where we were traveling and I tried to draw as much as possible and got a couple hours in, but man, it is rough drawing on the road, trying to be productive. So now I'm trying to catch up. And last night, I stayed up till 4 a.m. I shouldn't have done that, but I don't have to go to work right now. So stayed up till 4 a.m. and I got a bunch of Pages pencils. I was super excited about that. Those are the ones that you're looking at here. And so that kind of put me back on track. Speaking of photo reference, so here we have my big giant map of what is going on with this book. And anywhere where there's green or blue, I'm good there. Yellow, not good there. Red, almost nothing is done on that page. And so you can see that I have a pretty decent sketch here. That's going to roughly be what that is going to be inked as when I'm done. This double page spread is almost completely penciled. I'm going to move this house over a little bit. This I like a lot, just detail the rocks and the forest. This is good, and you can see here's some photo reference that I was using for that. I like the idea of this. It's not done. This isn't done. Not done. Here's this. This is done. That's great. Or at least penciled. This is a basic composition, so that's all right. This needs a lot of work. This needs a ton of work. This is basically finished. I'm going to make a small change here. That's why there's yellow. And so you can kind of see how I'm kind of breaking that out. In any case, let me take you through the pages that I have penciled traditionally on paper right now. Okay, so page update. Need a better light. We got this guy, this gal. That's our first, it's a double page spread. And so I'm going to scan this in and clean it up a little bit and then print it out as pencils on 2 different pages, and then I will ink that. And then we've got this page where the guy meets and fixes the sparrow. Kind of excited about the hands there. Kind of cool. And then we've got the sparrow bowing after it realizes stuff. I don't know if you guys care about the story. But here's the wife and her detailed hat. And she's very angry. And this is one of the reasons that I scan stuff into the computers is her hands are way too big. And so I've got to kind of fix that. I was going for some foreshortening here, which is cool. Except this one would be further back, and so it would be significantly smaller. Finally, I thought I might show you a process of how I come up with a page. And so let me kind of show you my sketchbook, which I finished. And I don't want to do what everybody else is doing and give a sketchbook tour because it's popular, but I do want to give a sketchbook tour because it's done. So know that when I give you a sketchbook tour that I'm not doing it for the ratings. I'm doing it because I finished it and I want. So, but anyway, I thought it might be interesting to see how I'm working out a particular page. So I had an idea for a page, right? And I wanted the sparrow to bow. And that is significantly more difficult than I thought it would be. And so you can see a bunch of different attempts of me trying to get a sparrow to bow, which is frustratingly difficult from the angle I was trying to get it at. I finally found a couple different references that I was able to cobble together to help my brain understand the mechanics of that. And then over here, here. There we go. So then over here you'll see I'm trying to figure out the pose. And so on this page I've got a bunch of different fists and hands and shoulders to try to figure out, because I figured mainly it would be face, shoulders, and hands that would communicate here. And so this is the page sketch that I did. And so that ended up being what I used to pose. And so once I got the sketch roughly down, then I posed with my hands and I did the thing. And then I took those photos and I put them on my iPad next to my drawing table and I drew that out. And so kind of the progress of a page up until that point. One of the things that I found really interesting is that as a kid, I used to think that there's this economy of drawing where if I drew it, I didn't want to draw it again. And I'm ending up as a professional artist, I draw the same thing about 4 to 6 times before it's completed, because there's idea thumbnails, and then there's compositional thumbnails, and then there's line comps and value comps. And then there's little noodling things that you want to fix. And then you'll redraw that face a few times or whatever. And then you kind of get everything together. And then you ink it and then you color it. And so by the end of that, I've drawn the same thing so many times. It just makes me laugh that I used to think that it was, such a waste of time. I drew it. Why would I draw it again? I drew it once. It's well, yeah, you're going to have to draw it 5 or 6 more times to get it right. Anyway, just kind of entertaining. So, kind of a rambly one today, but if you like this video, hit that thumbs up. If you dislike this video, you probably haven't made it this far. And if you want more videos like this, then subscribe, hit that little bell so that you can get notified on when I post new videos. I don't spam people and I don't post a ton of videos. When I'm doing stuff that does a ton of videos, I leave those unlisted and put them in a playlist so you don't get notifications all the time. And you can catch my stuff at CoryKerr.com. If you want to follow along on the daily on what's going on with this, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Cory R. Kerr, which is on the screen, and Twitter at Cory Kerr. And all of my stuff that's going on is being gathered and compiled into playlists and all that, so you can check that out. But in any case, thumbs up and leave a comment. I'm curious, 2 things. 1, have you ever felt bad about using photo reference? 2, what are your limits to using photo reference? Not at all. It's bad, it's evil, it sucks. all the way up onto you use Google SketchUp and trace over the top of it in the computer. What are your parameters? I'm curious on where you think is too far and where you think is it starts to feel inauthentic or cheating. Let's have that discussion in the comments. I'll catch you guys later. Probably next week. Hopefully one more video this week, but I don't know. All right, so I'm out, and I'm going to leave you with some more footage of last week from our vacation. But you guys can feel free to turn this off at any point in time.